Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. So today we read a story. We actually started from there right in the beginning. And that is the story of Musa alayhi salam, who goes on a journey to meet a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who many of the scholars, they say that his name is Khidr or Khidr, but his name is not mentioned in the Quran, and it doesn't matter. But this story is such an amazing story that when I was researching for this, I came across a sheikh who had done a 20 CDs explanation of this story. How many pages is that in the Quran? It's about 1.5 pages. Maybe 2 pages of the Quran, let's say. 2 pages of the Quran, and he went into, and between the different groups, the different scholars, you can get hundreds of lessons to be learned in terms of different aspects of life. But I will focus on a particular side of it, which is with regards to with what's happening in Gaza. If you look at this story, what you see happening in front of you seems so detestable, seems so bad, that you cannot possibly imagine any good coming out of it. To see the story that Khidr, he passes by a young boy who is playing, and he goes up to that boy and he kills him. And you would say, how could there be any good in it? And think about what's happening right now. It's really hard. Even Musa alayhi salam, he couldn't hold himself back. Even though he was told, don't ask any questions, he said, why'd you kill an innocent soul? So, from this story we learn that something may happen in front of you, which seems to you like there's no possible good that could come out of it, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows better. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in this story, because of what happened, Khidr, or whoever the person is, his name is, that the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who Musa alayhi salam is learning from, he explains to him that this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted, and this is the reasoning for it, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that this child is going to grow up and he's going to become a big pain for the parents. He's going to lead them or basically cause disbelief and kufr and whatnot. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to save them, and He will replace him with another child who will be a righteous child. So again, it's very difficult at that time. But if you fast forward 15 years, 20 years, and that kid grows up, do you think that it is possible for any parent to wish for their child's death? Do you think so? I have personally met people in the masjid that say that when such and such happened and it was possible that my son might have been dead, this mother said, I felt a relief. Because of so much problem and so much pain that they were going through, that their life was turned upside down. She said, you know what, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm thinking that if I were to get this news that my son has died, it would actually take so much problem and stress and just pain away from my life. So most people cannot see that except the people who are in that story. They will be the ones to say, you know what, maybe there was a car accident or something weird happened, some freak accident, and it would have been less painful for us to swallow that than to go through what we are going through right now. So the point of all of this is that Allah's decisions are not always understandable to us. In fact, most of the times, His wisdom, His knowledge is far greater than ours. And whatever happens, when we try our best to avoid anything harmful from happening, but if it happens, then this is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we should come to terms with it that I don't know what good is there in it, but Allah knows. But Allah knows. So a few of the lessons that I will share with you from this is, number one, they say that, the scholars say that, of course, this type of fulfillment of the command of Allah is not something that you and I can do. We can walk around and say, you know what, this child doesn't look good to me, let me take care of him. No, na'udhu billah. This is only for, not even the Prophet Musa alayhi salam knows and understands this very special type of knowledge that has only been given to this slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is only for him by direct command, by direct wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he does what he does. Another situation, he passes by and he gets a ride from these poor fishermen and he damages their boat. And once again, so many of us, we go through difficulties in life. It's as if like somebody came in our life, we helped them out and they damaged our boat. But subhanAllah, the damaging of the boat ended up saving the entire boat. And to fix the damage is a small deal, while losing the entire boat would have been great. That they could not have sustained. They would have, basically gone bankrupt. Their livelihood and whoever was depending upon them would have been destroyed. But the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came in such a way that it came in the form of a bala. It came in the form of a difficulty. But it is actually a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That it is saving you from a much bigger problem, but you in that situation cannot see it. Those fishermen would have been cursing the man as he walked out. It's like, we gave you a free ride and you are damaging our boat. But subhanAllah, only later on they would realize that what happened to us was such a great mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are many famous stories of people that there was a man, there was a flight that crashed, I think from Ethiopia Airline or something, where this man, he arrived 2 minutes late and the gate closed. And he begged and yelled and screamed at them, please let me in, the plane is right there. Please let me in. They said, no, sorry, we cannot let you in. And he misses the flight, he has to get a hotel. And the next morning, he turns on the TV, and turns out that plane crashed and every single person died. And the man is throwing up from the shock of it all, that I could have been on that, but that little problem that I went through, the delay, it actually saved my life. I could have been on that plane right now. So the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala acts, Allah's acts is known only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is possible that something that you detest strongly may actually be beneficial for you in your deen. Right? So the case of the child is that the parents would have been so devastated by losing a child to such a random act of violence. However, this act was something that is good for their deen, and in the long run they would be happy. And also something that could be beneficial for this worldly life. Even though you went through a difficulty, but it brings about some benefit for you. Also, human reason and Allah's will do not equal each other. That we cannot understand, and we should not try. Some people have this idea that I cannot comprehend how such an atrocity could take place while Allah is watching everything. Here's the thing. Who said that you have to comprehend everything? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not tell you that everything I will do, you will be able to comprehend fully. No, leave it as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge and wisdom. And the paradoxes of life are such that where apparent loss is in fact a gain, and what appears to be a cruelty is in fact mercy, and what appears to be returning good for evil is in fact justice and not generosity. So I'll mention this one last example of this, is that that today something has happened that has not happened in the last, 75 plus years. And that is that the United States of America backed away from standing with Israel. And they have a UN resolution has been passed for a ceasefire, and the United States did not veto that. Up until now, it was the United States of America that was vetoing them. Subhanallah, could anybody have imagined 6 months ago, the United States of America, the Democratic Party, Chuck Schumer, himself a very, very ardent supporter of Israel, himself a Jew, a New York Jew. They are when it comes to like their support of Israel, it's like nothing like that. And these are the people who are standing up and speaking out against it. And Israel is saying the United States has crossed our red line. How did the United States cross our red line? That you did not veto, you abstained, that's a red line for us. You're supposed to veto. You did not vote against it, you vetoed it, you did not veto it, and you did not even vote for it, but you just abstained. That is a red line for Israel. Subhanallah, my dear brothers and sisters, no one could have planned such a thing. No one could have planned such change in policy from the United States of America. And subhanAllah, I think that the United States is realizing, or many people are realizing, that Israel is a cancer growing on the United States, that it needs to be cut off. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue that trend and allow the eyes of the people to be opened. So never ever question the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We may not realize, but there is good in it that Allah knows. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.